Hey everybody, Ingra Sparkman here from Southbridge Street Live, and I just wanted to let you guys know that we have banded together with CASA, Golden Crescent CASA of Victoria, for their annual backpack drive. Now I know it's summertime, so this is a crazy time to be thinking about school, but for organizations like CASA, they need to gather materials and supplies for children all year long. So this is it for the next couple of weeks on Southbridge Live. You're going to see that some of my guests will be bringing in backpacks themselves. If you also would like to donate a backpack or school supplies, you can come by our studio at 1102 North William Street, or you can call me at 361-649-1825, and I'll be happy to come by, pick up backpacks and supplies to help support our local Golden Crescent CASA. Happy Tuesday. I'm super excited about my next guest. This is Nolan. Nolan, you play guitar, you write music, you guys are working on an album, and you also teach English to high school students. I love this. I got to visit with you on Facebook. I had seen that you were, just promoting the writing of an album, and so I thought I would grab you up for a few minutes and we could talk about the music scene in Victoria.
Yeah,
so welcome to Southbridge Street Live.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I kind of want to just get right into, you work with Jerry James, you're the guitarist for Jerry James, and then you have your own band. Okay, tell me about your band.
My band is the Nolan Derosia Trio.
Okay, Derosia, because that is your last name.
Derosia, yeah.
Sorry,
rhymes
I
with
said,
ambrosia.
hello, it's Nolan Ambrosia.
Yeah.
Don't do that, because that'll mess me up. I'll tell you, Nolan. Yes,
my entire life, I was always trying to figure out how do I tell people how to pronounce my name, because I'll pronounce it and then they'll still repeat it back wrong, right? And then in 12th grade, I had a teacher that said, oh, it rhymes with ambrosia. It was like, you couldn't have told me this in the first grade? It's like, it's terrible.
And you would think that all those years of schooling,
yeah,
somebody would have called you ambrosia,
teachers.
to, or kids. You know how they do. You know what I'm saying? This is why I loved having the first name Ingra, because you couldn't come up with. I mean, the worst that I got in middle school was or in grade school was Ingra Bingra, and I was like, oh yeah, that was real. Yeah, I'm hurt. So anyway, well, so thank you so much for coming and being a part of this.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, and being a part of the music community. So can we talk about what's the music scene like in Victoria now?
Yeah, it's steadily growing. Whenever I came here, there were plenty of places to play, and guys like Jerry and the Hot Attacks and a bunch of other guys had already started to create a scene. So I was coming in during the creation of that.
Okay, so you're not a native Victorian?
No.
Okay, well I'm gonna have to take the mic off. We're gonna have to.
Okay,
No, just kidding. So where are you from?
Well, for the first 5 years of my life, my parents moved around quite a bit, but I consider myself as being from Fort Worth.
Oh wow. Okay, cool. From the Fort Worth area. Wonderful. When did you learn how to play guitar?
I was 16.
Oh,
almost
really?
17. Yeah.
Okay, so like
So it was pretty late.
what was your tipping point?
In the 6th grade, I played an instrument called the euphonium. I signed up for the euphonium. It's like a small tuba, and I picked it because it sounded funny.
You just liked the way that it sounded?
Yeah. In the 5th grade, we had a band director come in, and he was talking about instruments that you could sign up for in the 6th grade. And my mom was always really good about getting us involved in things. She never gave us an option. It was, what are you going to play, not are you going to play.
I gotcha.
Right. So yeah, very smart. So she said, what do you want to play? And I was like, oh, I don't know. That one guy said the euphonium, and the way that he described it was, it's the euphonium, euphonium. I was like, sign up for that
sounds like
one.
fun.
And then if anybody signed up for that one, if it was anywhere on your list, that's what they put you in, because nobody signed up for it.
Wow. So you got it.
So I got it.
And you rocked it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
did everything I could, yeah. So people were talking to me about, how I was going to, because I did well enough at it that people thought that maybe this could be a career. Maybe I could be in a wind symphony later, that kind of thing.
Wow.
And then the politics of it as a 16-year-old just didn't jive with me. It was always chair tests and that kind of thing. And to me, music isn't a competition.
Right.
It's a form of expression. It's an art form.
Right.
So that frustrated me. And then my dad took me to a Los Lonely Boys concert.
Ah.
And I thought, oh, I could do that. That seems like a great living. And I didn't think about, all the other stuff that goes into it. But it's like, yeah, I could do that.
That's what I want to
So,
do, yeah.
Yeah. So then I went home, and my dad has had guitars around the house my entire life. He's a guitar player as well.
Wow.
So I said, hey, you got anything I could borrow? And he's like, yeah, here's 3.
Cool.
And he
So
gave
he
me
was
one
excited?
of different types, yeah. So he was really excited about that.
Very neat.
And then, yeah, picked up those guitars, found what I liked, and then decided to, from day one, it was like, I want to make this a career.
Wow. Is that tough?
Yeah.
Making it, yeah?
Yeah, the music industry is very difficult to make money at.
Now, you had said that you and Jerry James both write music. So I want to know about the process. I really want to take a few minutes
Sure.
to talk about, because, yes, playing the instrument is an art. I absolutely agree to that. And I think that music is such I feel like music is one of the most important art forms that we as humans have as a way to express ourselves. But I would really like to know about the process of songwriting. Can you talk to me about that?
For everybody, it's different. You can be inspired by a single line or a phrase that a friend says. Or it could be a guitar hook. I could just be practicing something and think, oh, that sounds cool. And then turn that into a song. So inspiration can come from almost anywhere, and everybody has a different process. For me, lately, most of it's been electronic. I'll set up a drum loop, and it'll just play the drums in the background. And then I'll start playing guitar over that until I find something that feels hooky, something that'll catch me. And then I hit record, and I save that as an idea, and then I'll move on to another idea. And then whenever I have enough ideas together, I think, okay, what do I want to sound like? Because I may have had a really twangy country hook,
Right.
but is that what I want on my album? I may have something that's really heavy, but is that too heavy to be on the album? And then at that point, I'll start to narrow it down, and that's the process that I'm at right now with my
Right.
album. So I have songs that are completely written. I have songs that are just in the riff phase, just the beginning.
Right, in just the beginning. What would you say the average song takes to write? Like, okay, let me scratch that, because I just saw the movie Rocket Man. I had no idea growing up that Elton John didn't write his own lyrics. And I don't know if you've seen the movie
Yeah,
yet.
I didn't know until just now either.
Okay,
so-
all right.
Yeah, so
See, you
telling
learn
me.
something new every day. So he has had the same songwriter from the very beginning of his music career. And they have partnered together. So it was interesting to me to see that Elton John never wrote the lyrics. The lyrics came to him and he wrote the music. But
Yeah.
then on the opposite end, to me, as a writer, because I do write, what is that like to write a song but to not have the ability to play, the instrument? You know what I'm saying itself. So that you kind of know how the words will sound, but
Yeah.
how will the music sound in that?
Well, you can have a sense of melody, and I've played with guys where they have an idea, but they don't, like a lot of drummers don't play guitar, but a drummer will have a great idea for a song. So for them, it comes from wherever their sensibility is. So a drummer
Right.
knows where the beat is,
I see what you're saying.
and they can still have a sense of melody without knowing how to create that melody. So they can just kind of hum a line to you, and then I can figure it out on the guitar, and then it can kind of come together that way. But
Very
yeah.
cool. So how many songs do you have on? How many songs is the goal for this album?
I like concise albums, 10 songs. I like that, but you have to have a surplus to whittle down to.
Right.
So right now I'm at a little over 20.
Wow. And that's not a
and
surplus?
most of them
yet?
aren't necessarily complete, but
Right.
yeah. So,
What genre is it?
It's blues rock.
Have
So
you
I'm going
always
for
enjoyed blues rock?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you some feet to the fire questions.
Sure.
Feet to the fire question, which is, who do you think is the greatest guitar player of all time?
It's between Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi Hendrix for me.
You have to choose one.
Let's do Stevie.
Okay. All right. Why?
His technicality and how focused he was. It was one genre, one instrument, one sound,
Right.
all the way through.
Right. His music was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Although Jimmy's was too.
Yeah.
What do you think is one of the most beautifully written songs of all time?
Jimi Hendrix again, Little Wing.
Little Wing?
yeah,
What
the
does that,
progression.
what does it move you? How does it?
part of it's the progression and the emotion that you can bring to that piece. And then Stevie Ray Vaughan recorded that one, so he did a version of it that to me is like the ultimate version of that song. But it's moving. There's emotion to it.
Right. So, do you identify more as a musician or as a songwriter?
Probably as a musician. I'm trying to change that.
Yeah.
I've always identified with the musical aspect of it, and then songwriting second. But without the songs, who are you? So that's the thing that I've been grappling with since I started playing.
Now, are there recording studios? Because I'm very naive to this. Are there recording studios in Victoria, or do you guys go out of town to record?
I do everything in my house.
Okay, that's right. Technology is moving so fast.
Yeah.
So I assume that a lot of musicians now are recording in their own home studios. So what does a home studio look like? What kind of things do you have in your home studio?
Everybody's different. Everybody has different tastes. For me, everything is in my computer.
Okay. Oh, wow, the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, they've gotten to the point where you can download a program to make your room sound like a different room.
Wow.
So I can make it sound like I was recording in Abbey Road or wherever I want to, really.
Oh, wow, that's fascinating. What recording, what type of software is that?
They're called VSTs. VST is something that you put into an audio workstation, and it's just like a program within a program.
Wow.
But yeah, it'll bring up pretty much anything you want. So if there's a particular preamp that somebody used on an album, and I want that preamp, I can look it up. What preamp did they use? And then I can go and download a digital version of that.
Oh, wow. Do you have to be really careful to make sure that you're not taking anything that isn't copyrighted and that kind of thing, or are those programs?
Most of the time, you're actually buying it from that company, or that company has given the rights to another company to make that. So, like, if I download a Fender amp, it'll actually say Fender trademark.
Oh, I see.
And you'll see a digital amp.
Oh, wow.
And sometimes they sound as good, sometimes they don't. So, just
You have to there have been times you've been disappointed then, and
yes, yeah.
I see.
Quite a bit.
I see. And what about for you? What song do you find that you're most passionate about on this album?
I don't know that I have a particular one yet. For me, we live in a singles age, I feel like, where everybody wants to listen to the single. They heard it on the radio, and that's the one song.
Excuse me.
And
Sorry, Jake.
you okay?
Yes, I am. Thank you. So sorry.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, we live in a singles age, so everybody wants to listen to that one song from the record, and they don't buy the record anymore.
Right.
So you can just go on Spotify and like that one song, and there it is in your list, and you don't have to listen to anything else by that artist. You don't have to go buy the record anymore, right? Which is something that I'm young enough that I don't know that. I've never lived in a world where I couldn't just go buy the single and put it on my iPod. Since I was 11, iPods have been around.
Right.
So for my entire adult life, I can just go get the one song. But somehow still I prefer the album version of things. I prefer to listen to a record and hear what the artist was going through for the entire duration of those 40 minutes.
Cool. Do you collect records?
No.
No,
No,
not
not
particularly.
really.
Yeah.
No.
See, I'm way, way old school. Like, I still collect records.
Like the vinyl?
I love vinyl.
Yeah.
I love vinyl.
Yeah, I have a record player. I have some vinyl, but it's more of
the
a
problem
wallet
with,
thing.
Yeah, there you go. Well, see, and here's the deal too. Like, you also have the vinyls. You have a record collection, and then then you go through this thing, I think, psychologically, where you don't want to hurt anyway or damage the vinyl just in case. So it's like sort of like a catch-22. Like,
Yeah, and then it's
why
just
do
a
you have
collection at that point.
Then you have a collection, yeah.
Yeah.
But nothing like what I saw growing up in the 70s and 80s, where, I mean, I've seen some of the most incredible vinyl collections ever.
Yeah, and I've seen all of my dad's stuff. He doesn't have as much of his old vinyl, but for him it was CDs in the 80s. So he has
What kind of music did you
racks
grow
of
up
them.
with?
I guess that's where the blues stuff started. My dad would go through phases, and my dad was the one who would collect new music, whereas my mom was the one who had the songs that she liked.
Right.
Like in the car with my mom, we had the Beach Boys' greatest hits, Phil Collins' greatest hits, and
yeah.
Garth Brooks Double Live in Dallas. Those were the 3 records that were the soundtrack of my childhood, going to school and coming back. And then she was at the concert in Dallas whenever Garth was doing those songs, right? So there's a part where the audience is singing louder than he is, and he has to stop singing, right? And she's like, "That's me. Can you hear me?
Oh,
It's me."
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And then for your dad, on your dad's side?
Yeah, he was the one who was always getting new stuff, and he was always looking for more stuff. So he would, buy a CD a week.
Right.
And then next thing you know, there's a wall of CDs. So that whenever the iPod comes out, I'm like, okay, which ones do I want? So I could go through anything. So like one of my earliest memories is me and him in his truck, and it's kind of how the Stevie Ray thing started.
Right.
He had Neil Young and a Stevie Ray CD that were going back and forth, right? I don't know if it was a disc changer or whatever, but it was those 2 CDs when we were moving from one place to another. So we were in the car for hours.
Wow.
And in my mind, Keep On Rockin' in the Free World, the Neil Young song, was written by Stevie Ray Vaughan because I conflated the 2.
I see.
So whenever I was older, I went to look up Keep On Rocking in the Free World by Stevie Ray Vaughan. And of course I didn't find it, right? But I found Stevie. And then that's where that started, was going through his old records and going through his old CDs and then trying to find what were those sounds that I was hearing whenever I was a kid.
Now this might be a little bit thought-provoking because I don't know that I've ever even asked anyone in the years that I've been doing biographical work. But what would be some songs in the soundtrack to your life?
Keep On Rockin' in the Free World would probably be the first one.
Right.
There's a home video of me in a diaper with the
it.
toy guitar and the cowboy hat singing Keep On Walking in the Free World. And
I love it.
So I have that. There's different periods in life. So whenever I was like 8 or 9, it was all Backstreet Boys and NSYNC because that was what was out at the time. So,
really? You Backstreet and NSYNC fan, huh?
No, but
no? But it would just be be in
those
the
songs
soundtrack. I like how he says, no.
Well, I mean, it
but
was
in
good
the soundtrack
songwriting.
to your life, right? Exactly.
Yeah, so the songwriting was there. I Want It That Way is still every time.
We were just listening to that on the way over.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, probably notice any time that you're in the bar, that's one of those songs that the bar shuts down and everybody starts singing. It's right up there with Sweet Caroline.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, so songs like that. Then I went through Beatles phase, so I guess the Beatles would be in there, and then picking out, what is your favorite Beatles record, that kind of thing. After that was the Black Eyed Peas were in there at one point.
I love the Black
Before
Eyed
I
Peas.
started playing guitar, that's who I was listening to, and then, it just kind of goes.
Do you feel like your music has mellowed over time? Because I feel like my music is starting to mellow. Like I have to.
I don't know.
Like I have to say that recently in the music that I'm listening to on the radio, I don't care for as much.
Yeah.
As I do for the music that, I grew up with.
Yeah.
And I just wondered if through time most people go through that, if it's something that we're just inclined to do because this was our youth, and not so much a holding on to the youth, but your mind sort of just is, your body,
I think that happens a lot. Yeah. I noticed, like, as a young blues musician, I noticed that people make fun of the blues a lot as what the 40-year-old lawyers listen to a lot of times, right? That'll happen with, certain musicians and stuff. And I think maybe that's it, is that they were all into heavier stuff and have mellowed out into that style of music.
I see
so
what you're saying, yeah.
maybe that's why the age is associated with that. Maybe everybody will be listening to the blues when we're, I don't know. Maybe it'll come back around, and then whenever I'm 40, then I can be famous. Everybody will like me then.
That's awesome.
So you never know.
That's something to shoot for. Just hoping to bring the blues back. Tell me, what is it about blues that just people who love blues really, truly love?
There's an emotion to it, and there's it's almost like there's mistakes that you can make. And, in life we make mistakes, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And with that music, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can take any blues musician ever And if you listen to the record and you listen to the live version, you're hearing two different versions. And they're still the same song. It's not so far different. And it's not that he's doing it better or worse in either one, but they're different versions. And in the blues, it seems to be universal. It's always that way.
Oh, wow.
Whereas with other types of music, you get, they're not necessarily always more even. There's certain guys in, rock or metal or anything that can change it, but it seems like a lot of the times it's more exact or choreographed, so to speak. Whereas the blues never is. It's always coming from the heart, I guess.
Now, I heard something once. I've never even thought to ask a musician about this. That on a guitar, although music is seemingly endless, there's only a certain number of riffs that the guitar can play. Is that true? That each instrument, in its own way, has a certain type of limitation.
I don't know about that. I think maybe that's the reason that the guitar is still relevant today, even though it's a completely different way that people use it today.
Right. How was it used before?
Well, I mean, it's still always for music, but
right, exactly.
It's like if you listen to Jimi Hendrix and you listen to his early stuff, and then you listen to his later stuff, he was experimenting from the beginning, but he didn't have the tools to do things with. To experiment with. So like the wah pedal. The wah pedal didn't exist for his first record, and then his later records, he's playing with the wah pedal everywhere because now it exists. It's something that he has. Or a fuzz pedal, So he has different tools and different things to experiment with. So I feel like it's always evolving. So the style is always evolving. Things come back and leave and come back. But as far as riffs go, I don't know how many combinations of notes there are.
So I just heard that. So I was like, oh, it's not like a Sonic, drinking mix flavor, like it's endless.
No, yeah, you know what I think it is? Yeah, it's exactly like a Sonic drink.
I like that.
Yep, and then, you have to figure out how many of them are going to taste good.
There you go. Exactly.
Do you want orange, chocolate, vanilla, raspberry, or do you want a vanilla Coke, But
perfect, exactly.
And everybody's going to have their different tastes. So yeah, that's a great analogy. I'm going to start using that.
Thank you. Okay, yes, you may certainly use that. So tell me about being a high school teacher. Because you might be like the coolest high school English teacher I have ever met.
Yeah, or I could just be the stuffiest whenever I get there, and it's like an act, and I just...
Oh, are you real stuffy?
No.
Are you strict?
Uh-uh.
Okay, good. Thank goodness.
I don't think so. You have to ask the kids.
Yeah, okay, I will.
It depends on the kid, too.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, amen
So in a
to
few
that,
years,
brother.
whenever...
I taught for several years, too. Yeah, it depends on the kid.
Yeah, so in a few years, whenever you're interviewing them and their generation...
I will say, I'll go back and say, hey, tell me about Nolan. Did you ever, Well, you're the first also high school teacher I've ever met who has a full sleeve.
Yeah.
So, but then, I've been out of school.
Yeah, there are dozens
for
of us.
just a little while. Yes, exactly. So do you feel like kids can, I almost feel like, and this is just me being biased, I think in some way, that kids can relate better to teachers who are artistically inclined, that have, a sort of a way about them, artistic way, or at least maybe for me as an artist myself, maybe that's just what I was, drawn to.
I think that's what it is it depends on the kid. So if you're more artsy, you'll relate to artsier people, and vice versa. So I've had students who absolutely love being in my class because they know that I'm who I am, and as a teacher, I try not to hide who I am.
Right.
I always had teachers who did that.
Right.
It always frustrated me.
That's what I'm saying, though. My English teachers were almost always really stuffy, and then not always who they were.
Yeah, and that was always really frustrating to me. So I try not to do that. I try to be as real as possible with them. Just like, here's how the world works. I know you never had a teacher tell you this before, but you're at Hope now. So.
Right. And tell me about Hope.
Hope is an alternative school. So the idea of Hope is we are accelerated credit recovery. So if maybe you dropped out of school for a little while and you want to come back, Hope is where you come.
Wow. Why did you decide to teach there?
I feel like I was an alternative student. I feel like I'm an alternative person. So why not be an alternative teacher? If I'm going to teach, I might as well
Yes.
teach the way that's going to fit me.
Right.
Like I feel like if I went to a traditional high school, I'd be just as out of place as my students are
Right.
at a traditional high
At a
school.
traditional high school as well.
Yeah, and that's the whole point is
That's very well
we're not
said.
traditional.
Yes. That's fascinating. So do you have a name, a title for your album?
I'm thinking about titling it Rhymes with Ambrosia.
Are you serious?
I am, yeah.
I love that. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. So where can we go to look for your music?
I have a YouTube channel, so you can look me up there, just Nolan Derosia. My name will be in the comment section below. Yeah, so you can do that. I have Instagram, Facebook. Just
That's very
type in my
cool.
name and it'll show up.
When do you think we can see this album?
I'm hoping by the end of the summer, but we'll see.
Cool. And are you going to play this summer? Are you playing with Jerry James and doing your own shows?
Yeah,
Cool.
quite a
Tell
bit.
me a little bit about what you're doing.
Well, I play, 3 to 5 nights a week on average.
Here in Victoria? Tell me where.
We're going to be we play at Greeks 205 every Wednesday with the Jerry James Band.
Cool.
We play at the Pump House quite a bit. Acoustic duos there with Jerry. I play at Yamato Solo Acoustic once or twice a month.
Oh, do you really? When are you at Yamato?
I'd have to pull up my
Okay.
calendar, but
Cool. Can we? Is there a way to look it up? Because the next time we're at Yamato, I'm definitely gonna. I'll book a night that you're gonna be
absolutely.
there. I'd love to hear you.
Yeah, and there are all
you
kinds of
playing?
resources online to find that
Very
stuff. I'm spacing right now, but
That's okay.
yeah, you
That's
can
all right.
definitely look
Facebook
'em up.
and
Yeah.
Twitter and all of those things. Very cool. Very neat. Okay, so I've got my last question. Because you did say this about being an alternative kid, which I can really absolutely identify with. Go back in time, and what advice would you give to 15-year-old Nolan?
I would tell him to pick up the guitar now instead of in a year, because one more year of practice will be that much better.
Yes.
But I would tell him to go for it. I feel like there's one of the issues that I have today is I'm always looking at the past and I'm comparing myself to other musicians. Like, well, this guy made it by the time he was 25. I'm 28.
Right.
I would tell my younger self to just go for it. Stop comparing yourself to other people and be you.
And just be you. I love that. Nolan, thank you so
Yeah,
much
thank
for
you.
taking the time to come and visit with me and,
Yeah, of course.
and talk to us about songwriting. And I wish you the best of luck on your album, Rhymes with Ambrosia.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's fantastic. And thank you guys so much for watching Southbridge Street Live.